An Aryan brother is without a care. He walks where the weak and heartless won't dare. And if by chance he should stumble or lose control, his brothers are there to help reach his goal. For a worthy brother, no need is too great. He need not ask, fulfillment's his fate. For an Aryan brother, death holds no fear. Vengeance will be his, through his brothers still here. For the brotherhood means just what it implies. A brother's a brother till that brother dies. And if he is loyal and never lost faith, in each brother's heart will always be a place. So a brother I am and will always be, even after my life is taken away from me. I'll lie down content, knowing I stood, head held high, walking proud in the brotherhood.
People that are older and know what time it is know it's just business.
Yeah. Greetings and welcome. It's your host, Gabe Morales. I'm embarking on a new series based off of some stories included in my book, The History of the Aryan Brotherhood. Right off the top, a few ground rules for this series. Just like my MAN West Familia series, I will not tolerate trolls. If all you want to do is badmouth any of these videos, don't waste your time because I monitor this channel every time a comment pops up and it will swiftly be deleted and you will be banned from this channel. I do encourage you to respectfully ask questions and ask for clarification if something doesn't sound right to you. While I've been working these guys for over 3 decades and consider myself to be somewhat of an expert, I do make mistakes, just like all humans do. But I try very hard to make sure my info is accurate via validation lists from the California Department of Corrections, the Federal Bureau of Prisons, and other agencies. I go off of legal court cases and arrest records, as well as stories told to me, convicts and staff, direct interviews I've done with some of these guys, as well as news articles. Although I found they can be off at times, so I try to get at least 3 independent sources and not just go off one. So if there's something that I'm not 100% sure, I always try to make it very clear that it is only opinion or a belief, not necessarily a proven fact. As far as my background, many of you already know I mainly identify as Chicano, Mexican and American, whatever that means. Contrary to what I hear some Mexicanos and Chicanos say, Mexican is not a race. It's a blend of races and cultures, as well as most Americans are not 100% European, no matter what they might believe. And I think a DNA test would usually prove that. I do know that my great-grandfather, Don Antonio, was very fair-skinned and tall, leading me to believe what I was told by family, that he was at least part Spanish, or mostly Spanish. My great-grandmother, Juanita Tamayo, was said to be 100% Yaqui, and I've seen her name on a Yaqui tribal roll call list down in Mexico, so I know that to be true. And my father easily could have been mistaken for black. He was very dark, as seen here. So while I haven't taken a DNA test, I'm pretty sure I have Yaqui and Spanish blood in me from my father's side. My mother did take a DNA test and found out that she's almost half English and almost half Irish, with a smidgen of other Europeans. My half-sister Laura's grandparents were Scandinavian, the area where the Vikings came from, and she was a key participant in the Seattle Knights, who for many years would reenact ancient battle scenes at folklife festivals in rural Washington state. So I have a background in those cultures, English, Irish, and very familiar with Scandinavian, as well as Spanish, which is also a European country, as well as Native American culture from Mesoamerican. I think it is good to know your roots and be proud of your heritage. What I have a problem with is with white supremacy, Mexican/Chicano ethnocentrism, black power only attitudes, etc. I think we all should know, appreciate, and respect cultures that are different from our bloodlines and backgrounds, but nobody's better than anybody else. Americans love to hate bad guys. We see them in movies and are often intrigued by them and their activities on the dark side of life. I'm sure there'll be some people who read this book and think, hey, these guys are real cool. And indeed, I'm sure some of them were okay as far as their character. Sometimes they had to do things that was out of character while they were in the inside in order to survive. But take note as I go through the series at how many died from the hands of their so-called brothers. They often profess to protect themselves as whites from other races, but it is a known fact that whites mostly kill whites, blacks mostly attack other blacks, and Latinos, Chicanos, what have you, mostly hurt their own. I won't talk a lot about it in these episodes, but I have in other episodes as far as gang prevention and intervention. So check those out on my channel if you want to see a more of a social worker background. But it is definitely not my intention to glorify any of these prison gangs. In fact, quite the opposite. I hope that some of these stories will make people more aware that the hype seldom adds up when you're locked in a prison cell 23 hours a day. In my earlier book, Prison Gangs in America, I covered most of the major prison gangs and security threat groups in jails and prisons around the country. I also showed their relationship to street gangs and impact on crime in our communities. But after my book was published, some people told me they were mostly interested in just one particular group. So I broke them all down, such as in this series, which will focus on the Aryan Brotherhood and occasionally some related groups. If the reader is interested in other detailed AB accounts, I recommend books by Pete Early, The Hot House, Life Inside Leavenworth Prison, and Blood In, Blood Out, The Violent Empire of the Aryan Brotherhood by John Lee Brooke. For a better understanding of other white supremacists and not just the AB, I recommend checking out the Southern Poverty Law Center's website. And you also can see the Biography Channel segment, Bearing of the Brotherhood, that I appeared in and has rerun on National Syndicate TV stations since its initial airing. One of the main comments that I made on that show is that these guys probably should have named themselves the Heroin Brotherhood. And indeed, many of them have been addicted to heroin and have killed for it. While there's no hard proof they were distinct or highly organized pre-AB groups, the California Department of Corrections called white gangs in the system by various names, such as the Diamond Tooth Gang, the Bluebirds, the Nazis, and finally, several members from these groups joined together as the early nucleus of the Aryan Brotherhood. You'll find some people who disagree on when they first started, but my research has shown that they started in San Quentin in 1967 after a white inmate named Robert Holderman was killed by black inmates. For black inmates, the whites were often favored by the guards. And Abe also called the brand from Louis L'Amour Western novels. A member who was Irish by the name of Red Mahoney influenced the AB to use the shamrock as one of their symbols. Red Mahoney was very close to Mickey Manier and other individuals like Eddie Vaughn. These white prisoners became known as the Aryan Brotherhood. According to prison gang expert Brian Perry, who I've had on the show before, in order to be a bona fide AB, you must have the rock, the shamrock. It is my experience that most definitely, if you have that shamrock, you are an AB. They do consider that to be their symbol and will not allow people to false claim to put that on unless they're a member. Some other early members were Wayne Bulldog Ladd, William Machine Gun Girk, who also had Italian Mafia mob ties. There was also Bucky Garrett, Carl Nooner, and Mark Douglas, who all had ties to Washington State. Since I grew up in Washington State and met some of these guys, I find it interesting that there's some California prison gang experts say there was no Mexican Mafia or Nuez Familia or Black Guerrilla Family or Aryan Brotherhood in Washington State. Ever heard of a guy named Wayne Bridgewater? In fact, the Aryan Brotherhood had ties to McNeil Island Prison when it was a federal institution way back in the 1970s. Several documented hits occurred at McNeil Island that were attributed to AB members there, including Wayne Bridgewater, another inmate from Washington State that some state was never a member but only associate, while other state was an AB member, was Washington State Lifer Club President Kenny Tuka, who was actually half Filipino and half white. Later on, AB Council member David Sahakian crossed Kenny out. Kenny Tuka is also credited with sanctioning the Aryan family prison gang in Washington State, and in fact was sold up with one of the three original AF council persons, an individual by the name of David Davidson. Other early AB were Tall Dennis Murphy, Joe Morse, Danny Animal Newton, Danny Rawlinson. There's also Donald Hale, Fast Freddie Mendrin, Ronnie Spots Berg, Tommy Slim Center, Ronnie Harper, Robert Chuka Windecker, Larry Witzerg, Mike Carmichael, Eddie Burnett, Mervyn Moose Forbes, and Paul Allen. Some of the first federal BOP AB members were Robert Conley and George Hart. I will cover all these individuals and many more as we go through the roll call series. I probably should make it clear here that there is a California AB and a federal BOP AB that consider each other to be brother gangs. However, there are multiple other gangs in other states that have called themselves the Aryan Brotherhood that are not considered to be bona fide ABs by at least the California AB. Some of these groups, like the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, say we don't need them. We run things in our state. And indeed, some of these Aryan Brotherhoods do run things in their correctional systems, in their county jails and states. However, when it comes to the federal system, the California AB consider themselves to be the elite. The Aryan Brotherhood is run by a commission in California and in the federal system. For instance, in the year 2012, It is generally accepted that the California Commission consisted of Chunky Staton, Wildman Fortman, and Country Chance. In more recent years, the commissioners are said to have been Danny Troxell, Renegade Yandel, and Country Chance remained on the commission. There is also a council, which can be members who are pulled up to the commission or members who are moved back from the commission to the council. Some of the individuals believed to have been council members, at least at one time, are individuals such as Desperado Breches, Tricky Ricky Terplinger, and Youngster Stinson, who is also believed to have been part of the commission at one time. As far as the federal commission, there's been individuals such as longtime AB member Barry Mills, who died in 2018, T.D. Bingham, and Big Mac Mahinley. Federal council members are believed to have been individuals such as David Sahakian and Mark Nyquist. These positions often change when individuals either die of natural causes or somehow found to be in bad standings. For instance, Big Mac McKinley took over for commission member Thomas Silverstein when he was totally isolated at Leavenworth after he assaulted and killed a Bureau of Prisons officer. It usually takes a majority to make a decision. In other words, at least 2 out of 3 commissioners have to okay a hit or okay a decision. These commissions oversee all major decisions within the Aryan Brotherhood, but do take advice from council members. The California Aryan Brotherhood is actually pretty small compared to the rest of the population, less than 100, but they're still able to control tens of thousands of white convicts. You can check out some of my previous episodes on the AB that explain some of this, and I'll explain more as we go along. The Aryan Brotherhood has no known constitution. However, they do have a creed they came up with shortly after they started, around 1970. An Aryan brother is without a care. He walks where the weak and heartless won't dare. And if by chance he should stumble or lose control, his brothers are there to help reach his goal. For a worthy brother, no need is too great. He need not ask. Fulfillment's his fate. For an Aryan brother, death holds no fear. Vengeance will be his, through his brothers still here. For the brotherhood means just what it implies. A brother's a brother till that brother dies. And if he is loyal and never lost faith, in each brother's heart will always be a place. So a brother I am and will always be, even after my life is taken away from me. I'll lie down content, knowing I stood, head held high, walking proud in the brotherhood. Their main rivals were the blacks, in particular the Black Guerrilla family in the 1970s and the Washington, D.C. blacks in the 1980s. Which is a group of convicts who always go to the federal BOP if convicted out of the federal district, where the nation's capital is. That beef is covered very much during the episode I was on, The Burying of the Brotherhood.
The DC blacks disrespected the Aryan Brotherhood, and they had to answer for that. And a kite was sent through the prison system between the Aryan Brotherhood members.
War with DC blacks. And with that, the Aryan Brotherhood in Lewisburg had their marching orders.
They were basically attacked in their cells. The element of surprise is very important with the Aryan Brotherhood. They didn't see it coming. There was lookouts from the Aryan Brotherhood, and then the hitmen would enter the cell and then stab these guys to death.
Lynch shank through the throat of Mr. Abdul Salam.
Salam was an alleged leader.
And we'll get into that more when we talk about Barry Mills and some of the other Aryan Brotherhood shot callers in the federal system. They also were supported by female associates such as Brenda Jo Riley, who'd run messages and dope for the AB. Brenda was the wife of a Nazi lowrider / Aryan Brotherhood member named Elliot Rascal Grizzle. The Aryan Brotherhood often uses female carriers, girlfriends, and wives to help carry out business. However, today they rely more on smuggled-in cell phones. We'll get more into these stories and more as we go through our Aryan Brotherhood roll call series. I have lots of pictures and will try to insert them when available, but I've created a standard Aryan Brotherhood placard like I did for the NF series when I don't have a picture of the individual who I'm addressing, but still feel they need to be covered. Don't get all bent out of shape. I may skip over some names. especially if I don't have a lot of background info of what I'm putting out. So if there's somebody you're wondering about, hit me up in the comments section. I probably have some documentation on them, and I'll see what I have. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy this new series. For now, this is Gabe Morales signing off. Gangsters, cops, and politicians. An Aryan brother is without a care. He walks where the weak and heartless won't dare. And if by chance he should stumble or lose control, his brothers are there to help reach his goal. For a worthy brother, no need is too great. He need not ask, fulfillment's his fate. For an Aryan brother, death holds no fear. Vengeance will be his, through his brothers still here. For the brotherhood means just what it implies. A brother's a brother till that brother dies. And if he is loyal and never lost faith, in each brother's heart will always be a place. So a brother I am, and will always be, even after my life is taken away from me. I'll lie down content, knowing I stood, head held high, walking proud in the brotherhood.
People that are older and know what time it is know it's just business.
Yeah.